Hey, you guys. How's it going? How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having an amazing night. And of course, this is DV Night Talk. So I'm going to pull myself off the screen for a second so you guys see the background and I'll come right back. Hang on 1 second. Okay. Hey. Back again. So I wanted to just get on here because I was like, you know what? Oh, here we go. Here I am. I might have to change myself and let myself be a little bit a different spot. Hang out again. Let me just get myself in the right spot. Okay, here we go. I don't know what I do with myself. I think my daughters have been messing with some of my things. So I was gonna be doing some coloring of some unicorn stuff, and I don't know where she's moved. My stuff is moved. I guess we'll find it in a little bit. I know what they did with it. But anyway, I wanted to get on here and just talk very briefly about something that I saw today on, of course, I saw it on Facebook, but I was really excited about it. And hopefully, I'm hoping that all of the United States will pick this up. But Tennessee is going to be the first out of all the states to start a domestic violence registry, a DV registry. And I remember I was talking to my friend. I was like, "We need to have a DV registry." And he was like, "Oh, I don't know. It's not. I don't know if it's. It is a crime. Domestic violence is a crime, and most of the time, the crime is perpetrated against women. Now, men get it too. Let's not. We're not gonna get twisted. So it looks like they'll be putting it together, and it's gonna come. Hello, how are you guys doing? Welcome. So, hello, welcome. So it's going to be in Tennessee, and they are going to be releasing it and starting it January 1st, 2026. I'm kind of excited about that. I'm glad you're doing good. Thank you for being here. So, some of you may have not heard about that, but it's called out in Tennessee Savannah's law. So, I am hoping that the rest of the United States will pick that up. Great, I'm glad because that's one of those things that we know. And one of the advocates was saying we know that there are a lot of perpetration of violence against women, especially when it comes to domestic violence. So if they had a registry of the person that's still perpetuating the violence, they get in another relationship, they go on dating apps, but you don't know who they are. So an unsuspecting woman, even unsuspecting men, will go to these individuals thinking there's nothing wrong. They'll charm the socks out of them because one of the things that people that harm, people that are abusers and aggressors do is they charm the socks of you. By the time you get involved, they don't just start like you guys think. Some people think, oh, well, they were like that in the very beginning. They were doing the abuse and they were doing all the things. That is not necessarily how it happens. And I can tell you from experience because I am a survivor of domestic violence. He didn't start like that. He never, and I'm going to say this 100%, he never put his hands on me while we were dating. Not even to hit me, shove me, attack. Never. I can recall all the dates. He was super kind. He was super sweet. He was super charming. He was a gentleman through and through. And it wasn't until we actually got married that then things started to change. Like there were hints of little signs, but once you're married, it's a little bit more challenging, right? Because you can't just walk away. Like it's almost like they know that, well, he knew, like, even if you're dating, you could still leave me. Even a fiance, you could still leave me. Now, when you're married, it's a lot harder to leave me because you're going to have to go through the court system and you can't just you know what, I'm done with you, just walk. You can't just do that, right? It takes a lot of legal actions to get that thing taken care of. So when I was thinking about that, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And I said, we need a DV registry. Like my mind was thinking about that this entire time. We need a DV registry in every single state with pictures, date of birth, name, the convictions that happened. Because for me, my ex-husband had a lot of domestic violence that happened on his first marriage and his first wife, unsuspecting me. My mother did a background check and saw all this stuff. Okay. Colorado doesn't play with domestic violence, but when I was looking, I was like, okay, well, maybe he's done with that. No, the patterns of behavior don't change. But see, you don't know that until you actually get into it. And then the mask comes off. The mask and everything that you thought he was or she was, the mask is pulled down and everything is dropped and everything's out there. Now you get to see the anger. Now you get to see the rage. Now you get to see the narcissism. Now you get to see the manipulation, the gaslighting, every single spiritual, financial, digital, emotional, mental, psychological abuse that you could possibly go through, verbal abuse. It is there full on. And what are you going to do? The onslaught of words, the onslaught of behaviors, the onslaught of thinking you're crazy and you're not, the onslaught of just everything that makes you want to drive yourself to want to unalive yourself is a scary thing, right? Because people don't understand. They don't understand. And I'm always sharing this message because God is way in control. He's in control of everything. Even when I was going through that situation, I know He's keeping me safe through that situation. And when I was able to finally get out of that situation, I know He helped me to do that. I know He gave me the strategy and helped me to get out of the situation. So if you find yourself in a situation with domestic violence, one thing that you have to make sure that you're doing, if you are thinking to get yourself ready to make a move to leave, you have to be very, very strategic, and you have to watch and you have to study the person whom you're with, especially when it comes to marriage. You have to study, you have to know where you're going, you have to know what you're doing, you have to plan it all down to the T. They always tell you to do a safety plan, but I always take it further than that. A safety plan gets you together, right? It gets all your important documents, where you're gonna go, all that good stuff. But then the day of, you need an EPS, which is your escape, your exit, your execute plan strategy. You need that for the day of. Because some people are like, well, how? Because it's the how that kind of gets people stuck and trapped because, like, well, I don't know how to leave. You're going to have to study that person and you have to figure out what is the best and safest time for you to exit that relationship. It takes planning down to the minute sometimes. And I know when I left, I did that for myself. So I said, you did what? I did a WPS, which is I had a written plan strategy. So I wrote my plan and I kept it at my job. I kept it at my job in my drawer because I had a desk, kept it at my drawer, and I would read it all the time. I would read what I'm going to do. I would execute it as I did whatever, like, okay, get the kids stuff out of school, take them out of school on this day, take this out of here, go get birth certificate stuff. If I didn't have that, get immunization records, whatever I needed, I made sure I had whatever I needed to do to pull them out of this or that. And at the time, pulling them out of daycare, take them out of school, all the things. I was moving and shaking and grooving, and I knew what I needed to do, right? So it's one thing to have a safety plan. It's another to have it at EPS for the day of. And I had it down to the clock. Like, I'm leaving at 3 o'clock. I'm not leaving at 3:01. I'm not leaving at 3:02. I'm not leaving at 3:30. I'm leaving at 3 o'clock. I'm out the door in my vehicle and we're heading to the gas station. We're filling up and we're heading to the road and we're not looking back. We are driving away doing our plan. So if you have your own vehicle, you got that baby gassed up, or you're gonna get gas and you're heading out. You're driving. Where it was for me, I had to leave the state. I had to drive outside of the state. I had to leave Arizona to go to California, and I had to make my move and to make my trek. And I did all of that. Some people don't understand. Sometimes you're not going to always be able to move within your state. Sometimes you have to go somewhere else. And I had to do that. My kids had to do that. They had to be in a different school. They had to leave the school that they were at and they had to go somewhere else. And they didn't even want to go. I remember my daughter was young and she's like, I don't even want to go to California. I want to go back home in Arizona. I was like, well, we can't because we can't go back there. We have to go somewhere else. She did not enjoy it. I didn't enjoy myself being in California either because that wasn't what I considered home. But I did a lot of stuff while I was out there and I still made it work. We still had the best time that we could have as a family. My book was birthed out there, my podcast was birthed out there. All those things that I was doing, I was working. I did all of that out there. And then all of that came here with me. So all the work and the time and all of that stuff, that's what I had worked on out there. And I was very focused, and the Lord was helping me do all of that. So I'm just very, very excited and hopeful that other states will pick it up too, that it could be a national domestic violence registry. Because one of the things that you understand is that people that go through domestic violence, if they have someone that's able to jump from state to state, that's a challenge to give somebody a restraining order or an order of protection. You can't put an order of protection on someone if they're in a different state. That doesn't work. It definitely doesn't work. Oh, I knocked something down. That definitely doesn't work. And if you try it, you'll find that it doesn't work. You can't get an order of protection going to another state where there's no crime has been perpetrated. You're going off a crime that's been perpetrated in another state. So say someone did a crime in Idaho. Well, you can't go to North Carolina and say, hey, put an order of protection on them over there. Well, they didn't do nothing here. So why would we put an order of protection over there? You came from Idaho. That's an Idaho problem. That's a jurisdiction over in Idaho. North Carolina ain't got nothing to do with that. And I'm telling you guys from experience because I had that happen to me. Because when I left and I was trying to tell people in California, the people in the legal, I was like, hey, could get a restraining order. I was like, actually, you really can't. No crime happened here. Did he hurt you here? No. Okay, well then we can't do that. Like there's no legal, there's no legal thing that you can do for us to put an order of protection. We can write it down, we can make notes, but other than that, I was like, so I have to wait for him to commit a crime here. Well, if he hasn't committed one here, what can we do? And then he kind of did by doing stuff, and then he skirted out because since he's a truck driver, which also makes it challenging if you have someone that works in the traveling kind of industry or one where they're going to be back and forth. I don't know. It might be challenging to do it on someone who's like a pilot or someone who is a flight attendant because they're here and they're everywhere. So I mean, certain industries of field, it might be challenging to even get an order of protection or to serve them with papers or documentation because they're all over the place, right? It takes a minute. I know it took a minute for me because the person I was trying to serve, my ex-husband, he was all over the place. He was not around. So if he even came to California by 2/2, he's gone. He's in Texas. And if you try to catch him in Texas by 2/2, he's back over to Washington. Or you think he's in Washington? No, he's in Oregon now. So you think he's in Oregon? No, he's gone to New Mexico. By the time an order of protection or anything would be made, you can't do anything because who's going to serve him? Who's going to go from Arizona to go serve him in Washington or go serve him in New York where he's dropping and loading his truck off, or go serve him over there in Georgia, or go serve him. They're not chasing him down like that, right? They're not doing that. But if you have a national domestic violence registry, every state will know who's who. Like, oh, I've seen your face. So you've been convicted of domestic violence a few good times here in Colorado, here in Arizona, now here in California. Oh, you are a repeat offender. You like being domestically violent to women, huh? Okay, and we see your picture. See, that's what needs to happen, right? And of course, they're vetting every single person to make sure, because there are people that will like, oh, great, there's a domestic violence registry. I won't put you on it because you're not with me anymore, so I won't make you hurt. So also making sure that they vet and make sure those people that are on there correctly and on there rightfully, and not someone who's trying to say they need to be and lie on them and say that they went through domestic violence when they're just really angry that the person's no longer with them. Because we have people that do that. Sad to say, we have people that will lie and say, oh yes, this is what happened. And they're just mad and upset that the person's moved on, but they just want to really mess up their lives. There are people like that. But not every situation is that case. So I share that because they're like, yeah, well, same time, I was like, okay, this is what I wanted to share because I haven't done a DV night talk over here, and I had the emoji hand like this because I was going to put something else up there. So the emoji hand is going like this is not for the DV registry, first of its kind. It's actually for the other part that I was going to put on there, but I didn't have enough space. Was I had to block my brother off of TikTok. And I recently had started getting on TikTok and being consistent doing my lives at night. But every now and again, he would pop up into my lives. And it would be very disturbing. And for me, when I'm doing my lives or when I'm doing whatever it is, whatever content I'm doing, I feel very uncomfortable when my family members are there because it's almost like I can speak freely, but then I can't really speak freely, right? Because for some reason they're there and they're not there for purposes of let me support what you're doing. They're there to either siphon information, try to figure what's going on, or take information back to other family members. And I don't really have time to figure out the agenda or which avenue or what way they're trying to kind of come in and figure out things. And tonight I went on live because I went on early, and here comes my brother again. He didn't go on my live last night because I fell asleep. I was tired. But the night before he was on, and a couple of nights before that, he was on there. See, when you are done with people, that means you're done with them. And my brother and I haven't talked for years. For we just haven't talked for years. And when I saw him, I called his whole name out. I was like, Stephen Hanna Jr., what are you doing here? What do you want? Why why do you keep coming in my life? What do you want? None of this domestic violence or anything that I've gone through has to do with you. None of it has to do with you. My kids don't have anything to do with you. Like anything that I'm doing, any events that I've done, nothing that I'm talking about, any of my content, my book, my everything, my podcast, none of it has to do with my brother. None of it. He's not included. If anything, I'm just talking about how my family members are, how I've dealt with them. But for the entire time, I just kept asking, what do you want, Stephen Hanna Jr.? Why are you in my life? What do you want? I don't understand why you're here. Why are you stalking my content? What do you want? At that point, I had to end my life. Now, I would have not necessarily done that, but he was disturbing me. So like I can't focus. And I can't focus when someone's in my life deliberately and it's a person I know. This isn't a person I don't. This is a person I know. This is my family member. It's different when you just have a troll that's just spamming your content. Because when it's spamming, you just block them, right? Because you don't know. But it's different when you have eyes on you from family or some old school friends that turned out to be frenemies. You don't want them seeing anything you're doing. You can see it if you find it somehow when you Google something and it comes out fine. But I don't want you sitting there watching everything. I don't want that there. I don't want you there at all. I don't want you there. Right. So that's one of those things. I was like, well, I called him out. I was like, I don't know why he was there in the first place. So I was like, okay. So let me see here. Oh, hold on a second. So I was like, yeah, I didn't see that. I was like, okay. And sometimes it's just like, oh, you want to figure out what's going on, right? So let me do that. Okay. Because there's other people sometimes that come in and they're, you have spammers of all kinds, right? It's like they're everywhere. It was like, okay. And you have more. So like, it's all good. So I was like, okay. So I was just really, really wondering, like I said, why he was there. Like, you don't need to be there. So I was like, you don't need that. So see here. Let's see, hold on a second. Let me get something right here. There we go. Feel better there now. Okay. So every now and then I have also over here. I mean, and that's everywhere you go, right? Sometimes you go into different places and people just want to be on just to cause and wreak havoc and they have nothing better to do. But anyway, like I said, I found that I needed to do that and get rid of his comments, get rid of him being there so I could focus on what I was doing. Because for the longest, it was like I can't focus on what I'm saying, what I'm doing, because there you are in the comments, right? I'm like, mm-mm, I don't want that. So I was like, nah, I don't want that. I'm good. So I think I tried before to change things, and I was like, nah, I won't change anything. But I think my kids took my markers I was using because I only have one set. I don't know what happened to it, but it's all good. So I was just very, very disturbed by it. So I ended up having to, I cut that live off and I went back just a little bit and said, I'll just come on here tomorrow. Just had to tell him I'll just come on tomorrow and then we could, pick up our conversation. Because it's different when someone's just stalking after your stuff. But you know what? You're going to have people that are watching you and looking at what you're doing. You know why? Because you're doing what the Lord would have you to do. You're sharing a message that's uncomfortable. You're sharing things that people don't want to hear about, but you still have to be sharing it. And today, I just didn't happen to have any scripture today, but I'm not going to be running scared from people that have been a bane in my existence for a very long time. And here they go, just like, well, I'm here. I'm going to be here to disturb you. No, you're not going to disturb me. But what I am going to do is I'm going to block you or I'm going to ban you so you cannot be harassing me. Now you can go and make another handle, do all that because that's the kind of energy and type of time you're on. But I'm not on that time. Like you can miss me with all of that foolishness because those type of people, they're not worth the energy, right? And I have so many other good things that I've been doing. And this year has been a whirlwind of not just, you know, unfortunate things, but it's been a whirlwind of a lot of really good things. Like I put on my first event this year. That was great. I found myself being on the planning council this year. That was good. And then for next year, the cohort of being on the speakers bureau, right? To get into the speakers bureau is a hard thing. And I got into a speakers bureau and I'm like, okay, right? There's good things that are coming and good things that are happening. And I don't want to let that kind of that kind of energy that comes from my family members, the ones that are always watching me for whatever reason, I don't need that. And neither do you, right? You don't need people coming around to watch what you're doing and it doesn't have anything to do with them. You're like, this has nothing to do with you. What do you want? Like, what are you bothering me for? Right? Even if it's just a person that's coming over, like, I like your content. Well, that you can deal with that, right? But you can't deal with people that just want to be nosy for nosy's sake. And here they come. Like, what do you want? And when you know that somebody has no good intention or agenda for you, you get rid of them out of your circle. And one thing I noticed is not everybody, and I remember somebody said that not everybody deserves access to you. And there's some people that think because they've known you for a certain amount of years that they deserve to maintain access to you. Because, well, I've known you since high school. So we don't, I mean, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm supposed to what? What does that mean exactly for me? It doesn't always mean like we have to really engage for real, you know? It doesn't always necessarily mean that. And sometimes people don't understand that. Like we might have had time before where, yeah, once upon a time I was in your life, but now times have changed. And I'm just using that as example, right? Because it could be anybody. It could be friends from your past. It could be coworkers. They're like, hey, I thought, we could reach out and hang out. Like, nah, I don't think that's a good idea. I think I'm good. I'm good on that. So when you find spammers, you just take care of them and you don't let them disturb you and you just do what you have to do. You might need to take a breather, stop and take a pause, right? And remember to be still and know that I am God from Psalm 46:10. He's God and he's got you. He's God and he's got the situation. And I'm just like, okay, Lord, I don't care if he was watching, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to keep playing the games of what are you going to be doing in here. Every time I go live, here you come. For what purpose? What purpose are you here? What are you trying to find out? What are you trying to see? Right? There's something that you want. And sometimes people don't try to tell you what they want. They just want to watch you to see if you'll just give them whatever information they're trying to get out of you, which is weird because they won't ask you. Like, why don't you just ask me? You're telling me what you want, or why are you here? Or if you're trying to establish a relationship again, as family members, then say that. But you're not saying anything, which makes me suspect of you, which makes me want to just block you. You know, and for the other one that was on here earlier, says, "Oh, should I have some people come and watch you? Should I have my men come and stalk you?" I was like, "That's not even funny on even a simple level. Why would you say something like that, right? Why would you say something like that? Because your intention is really just to cause chaos. And when someone's causing chaos and there's no peace, you know what kind of time they're on, right? The enemy is using them and they don't even know they're being used just to cause dissension and confusion and create distractions that are unnecessary. So, once again, I'm really thrilled that Tennessee is doing something to have a domestic violence registry called Savannah's Law. That's why they started it, because of that. And you can check it out and just research it. Tennessee Domestic Violence Registry in Tennessee. It's going to be the first of its kind coming out in January of 2026. I think that's an amazing, amazing thing that they're doing. And just like the advocate who shared about it, I really hope that others will follow suit. I really do, because we need something like this. Women need some other protections. And I think it'd be great. Law enforcement could, keep more tabs easily on people instead of them jumping from one state to another. Like, okay, this person for domestic violence, where they come from? Well, we don't have a registry, so you don't know that. You don't know that they've been perpetrating harm across the other 46 states and came to your state, right? And now you're 47, right? Especially if you have truck drivers, you have no idea. But when they do get this together, I am hoping that, like I said, it will catch on, because it is a crime. Some people don't see it. It's like, well, you can't have a registry like, you know, the was it the National Domestic Violence, not the National Domestic Violence, but the National Sex Offenders Registry, that one. I was like, well, if they're doing crimes against women, and if it's men too, but if they keep doing crimes against women and they keep having multiple convictions of that, something somewhere should be done to kind of keep tabs on that, because now these people go and they go into these dating apps and they go into these chat lines and things, and these people are there and they have a ton of prior history of domestic violence. Does that person know they have a ton of history of domestic violence? No, but there should be somewhere where you could check, like, are you in the domestic violence registry? Let me check. And scroll on down, like, oh, okay. They don't have to know, but I think that's a great step that they're doing, that they would have to sign up for the domestic violence registry. I don't know if they make them sign up or Tennessee has to sign them up, but either way, it's one of the best steps I've seen moving forward into something that's national. Because I think one of the problems for domestic violence is it is a huge problem in the United States. It's a huge problem everywhere. But in the United States, people are able to run and go other places. And so when they go other places in the United States, those states cannot cooperate with what's going on somewhere else, because no crime happened there. So it makes it challenging. It makes it very challenging for people to try and help someone that might be going through domestic violence if they know that person's just going to jump and run to another state because they found a border state to run to. So there they go. Or they found a state that, oh, I could go here because I don't have any history here. Meaning all the while they're trying to do that is avoid their whole situation of why they're even doing and committing domestic violence against people. They won't focus on, why are you doing that? That's not right. Why are you doing that to that person? Right. And that needs to really help people to change their ways and how they deal with people through domestic violence. So I'm glad I came on to get that off my chest because I just wanted to talk about it. And I wanted to talk about my brother too. Like, it's unnecessary for you to be on my life. It's unnecessary for you to be around. It really is. So unless we have some dealings, unless a family member passes away, what do you want? Right? So I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys are going to have an amazing and great day. And yeah, don't let anybody continue to harass you online and even off, but online for sure, because you don't need anybody while you're trying to do whatever it is, whatever the content is, it doesn't even matter. You want to feel comfortable speaking your mind. You want to feel comfortable being free enough to share whatever the Lord's laid on your heart and not have your mouth be bound in bondage because here people come and you don't really have the freedom to say what you want to say because you know they're going to run back and tell other family members. You don't need those problems. So I just want to encourage you that if you do have family members like that, just take it easy, stay away from them, right? But at the same time, know your worth, know your value, and just keep it moving. And like I said, I'm super excited that Tennessee is going to be the first one to have a domestic violence registry. I can't believe I was talking about that, and now a state has done it. That's good. And hopefully that'll be a step in the right direction for all the other states to jump aboard and do that in their own respective states. I hope it comes here in Arizona because we would need that. Arizona, California, and Colorado first. Let's do those guys first. But I hope they do because it's really important. And domestic violence is a very serious issue. And it'd be great if we can really push this so that everyone can feel safe and also have the ability to know before they get involved with a person, oh, you're on that registry. I probably don't need to be involved. You know what I mean? So I thank you guys for being here. Remember, a big kiss from me to you. I love you with the love of our Lord Jesus Christ. But I always want you guys to remember to be blessed, motivated, and always inspired to do what the Lord lays on your heart. So you guys take care. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it so much. Remember, I will be getting back into my DV Night Talks. I had to take a break because I was doing my lives, but I'll get it back. I will get it back, of course. So I will talk to you guys again soon. You guys take care and have a blessed rest of your night. Bye now. Yeah.